I see you just popped in. There you are, Matt. All right, I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to send you an invite. Add you to the camera. See if this goes. I'm not surprised.
So, brother.
Hey, not too much, man. How you been?
Good. How you been, man?
I'm doing well. It's good to finally, put a face to the name. I've talked to you a bunch on the internet, so it's a great opportunity. I appreciate you accepting the interview.
Yeah, no, thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. So, what's going on over there at Ottsix? I see you guys are getting new molds, getting everything rolling, getting your golds back in stock. What's going on?
Yeah, we're extremely busy. It's the only way I can describe it right now. With the new the KLR actually came together pretty quickly. So we've been working on that design for quite some time, on and off. We've been wanting to do a mud tire for a long time. So that actually kind of gelled up pretty nicely here recently, which was nice because we have a lot of other sticks in the fire, so to speak. Well, it looks like it's going to be a popular tire. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the response in multiple communities. Like it's on fire. So, like, what really brought the KLR-M to the table? What was that push?
Well, to be honest with you, we've been a rock crawling tire company from day one. The Voodoo pin was purely designed for rock crawling, comp crawling, and we kind of went from there with it. My own personal background, years ago, I did a lot of racing. So, when U4RC started rolling in, I was like, we're going to do that. We're going to do that tire for sure. So we went down that road. And, my 1-to-1 background is in rock crawling as well. So that was really our focus. And, we live in rock crawling Mecca here in New Mexico. I spent a lot of time out in Moab. So, but, 90% of the country does not rock crawl, frankly, of the world for that matter. Most of the natural terrain out there is kind of on the muddy side, to be honest with you. So, it is something that, we've been wanting to do, like I said, for a while. So, but just the time is right for that.
Well, I mean, knowing the terrain here and on the east side of the world I should say the right side of the United States.
Right. Yeah, it's okay. You can say that.
Well, I was getting a little bit of an accent. I've done enough travel. I catch it a little bit. It's definitely gone away though. Yeah, man. Like knowing what in northern, like I'm from northern Virginia, right outside DC. We have nothing but like muddy, that red dog soil. It's gonna clay up, and then you have your VDOT rocks to crawl, and that's pretty much about it, unless you create a course and dedicate it. So you mentioned the pins got you guys started. So what before that? What really got Ottsix off the ground? Tell us a little bit about your history.
Yeah, so I've been in RC for quite some time, and frankly, like say for instance, for such a long time, we're talking about back in the mid '80s, right, when the Bruiser came out, which was a great truck. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
I've seen
it. Steel ladder chassis. It was everything that a modern RC truck is. It was 3-speed transmission. It had everything going for it, but the tires were horrible. They were just horrible. And that was a theme, going right on through, my RC years with trying to do off-road endeavors. Was you were limited. You were limited by the tires, by the quality of the tires, quality of the rubber, quality of the design, and everything else. They were cool. They looked cool. They didn't work. So people, when the Bruiser first came out, it was pretty popular. There were clubs that sprang up and whatnot, but like I said, there were limiting factors that it just kind of fell away because of the tires, frankly. Everything else was there. It was all there. So, when I did a lot of one-to-one rock crawling, and I was going to Moab 3-4 times a year. And I started seeing the axial rigs pop up out there in Moab on the trail. And we were like, I'd be talking to my buddies. We're like, that's not a, it's not a bruiser. What is that? That's not what we were familiar with. And so we would get out and start chatting with these guys, and they'd start showing us these axial crawlers. And the first thing I was looking at was the tires. Because that's where the magic happens, frankly, in rock crawling. True. So, and I started looking at it, and I'm like, you know what? They've come a long way. This company, this axial company, has put a focus on the quality of the rubber and the quality of the design of the tires. And, it didn't take long before I got back into RC. So I was doing one-to-one and RC. And didn't take very long just to kind of, I was having more fun doing RC than one-to-one. And, I sold off all my rigs over a period of time. And I just, completely immersed in RC from that point forward.
That's
so
awesome.
That's where all that came from.
That's real. I mean, look, I mean, I can totally see, and I've had to sell off a few things for myself to really kind of support it's an addiction. It's not even a habit. It's just a straight addiction.
It absolutely is.
I mean, I totally understand. Because, I mean, I'm going to throw it out for all of our viewers. You contacted me not that long ago because we placed an order that you thought was a little bit off. And I really appreciate that. Because what I had done was ordered X4 foams and I've ordered gold KLR gold tires. Well, I got the X4s, as you can see, and I got the good old-fashioned gold tires, so we're good to go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, got to support across the board. But even that being said, so you have that one-to-one. You've seen those axials. You've seen that. Like, what really pushed you to go and develop the tires into what you have today? So I'm kind of like going back to the OGs.
Right. So the pin tires, that was our first tire. I was really involved in comp crawling at the time. Comp crawling was evolving really rapidly, and we were seeing cut and shuts out the wazoo back then. I don't know if you were involved at the time or not.
No,
it was evolving.
Tiny.
Pardon?
I was tiny at that time.
Sorry, there's a little lag there. Comp crawling was evolving from what you would kind of look at now as being maybe a wee rock type format into a very, very specialized segment. What we recognize now as being comp crawling with the big 2.2 wheels. And I saw it moving very rapidly, but again, here's this problem again. The rubber was not following suit. We were, again, hitting a wall with the rubber. And, I have enough engineering and design background where I was like, yeah, you know what? And money-wise, it wasn't a problem for me. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and make my own tire. You know what I mean? And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And it turned out they liked it a lot because it did represent, at least one level, if not 2 levels above anything else that was out at the time. Off-the-shelf compounds, I knew they just wouldn't work. They don't work. They still don't work as far as I'm concerned. Fewer and fewer of the upper-level companies are using off-the-shelf compounds anymore. But you still see there's plenty of them out there still. So, we set out to, just kind of solidify a new compounding regime in terms of take a certain type of rubber compound and put it into an equation and start manipulating that equation until what comes out the other end is exactly what you want. And that's expensive, as it turns out. I didn't realize it was going to be as expensive as it was, but it was well worth it.
So
and the other,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm just on a delay again.
No, I mean, I was going to ask a little bit about. I mean, you highlight the compounds. Like I got the OGs, I got the Vex. I'm a little bit of a tire. I like my tires. I'm not gonna lie.
I know you
it's
do.
not just your tires. It's tires across the board. Like
I gotcha.
Like I'm looking about at how and just the feel of the rubber. Okay, because I don't have that engineering background you do. So tell us, like, give us the layman's terms of like what the big difference is and the performance you would expect at maybe going from like the OG Silvers through the Vex, and what you're kind of looking for up with your new. I'm not gonna lie, it's sexy, the KLRMs.
Yeah, they really are.
They really are.
Prototypes are pretty crazy looking. Looking forward to it. We got about 40 more days on the mold, so.
That's 40 more days. You get people biting. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
True, very true. Okay, so as a rule of thumb, the softer that a rubber compound gets, the less durability there is, right? So that's just common sense. Everybody knows that 1-to-1 tires, same thing. So, we have RC tires have pretty tiny lugs. The tread patterns there aren't a whole lot to it. So you have to find this happy medium. What works in terms of durability versus traction profile, and that's really what it all comes down to. What's the traction profile of this tire? So, and again, it's an equation. It's a very long equation, and it kind of has more than two variables, so to speak. So mathematics wise, something has more than two variables. You can't really solve that very well, or at all. So this is combination of plugging things into this equation and then actually taking that information and putting it in your hands at prototyping, whether in real life prototyping and computer aided prototyping, which has been huge for us. Just huge. So that's where all that happens, right? So there's a prevailing wind in the RC community that's where this is kind of going away a little bit about softer is better, and kind of sort of true, but not complete 100% true. If your rubber compound has been set up correctly, it can be fairly durable and last for a long time and have a great traction profile, as long as that compounding matches the engineering that went into the tread, the carcass, and everything else. So, right. A lot of people are familiar with our blue compound. It's pretty hard, compared to some of the real squishy compounds out there. Our blue compound is pretty rugged. And man, it gets traction like nobody's business. I use it almost all the time, the blue compound, because of the type of traction that it gives me with the weight. I use very lightweight trucks, so it's kind of my own personal formula with that. But it's not to say that softer compounds don't work, because they absolutely do. But they're going to wear out a lot faster.
I've noticed that. I do run your Vex personally. I run your Vex Reds on my Class 1. Soft. They are very soft. It allows me to get some great grip on a very short wheelbase. It's the D90 RC 4-wheel drive D90. So, but it allows me to get that extra grip, which can climb pretty well for such a short wheelbase. At the same time, I also know that they're almost going to be impossible to replace because they're unicorns at this point. But
you have with that red compound, that was maybe someday. As it is right now, that compound was beating the crap out of our molds. That particular mold.
So that's really interesting, because I mean I'm probably asking for the group that's like really interesting. Like what's the thought process? Are you gonna have to change metals with that particular mold, or what?
You do. You have to set the mold. Really needed. If early on, we were going to go with that red compound. We would have made the mold a lot different in terms of how it clamps together, how much pressure the clamping process could take, that sort of thing for that particular compound. Yeah. Because it's very thin, right? It goes in, it's thin and very hot going in, and that's not how that mold is set up. So what happens is, under pressure, the amount of pressure it takes to actually cast that particular compound into that particular type of mold. I don't know if you're familiar with what mold flash is.
Yes, I'm very familiar.
That would just gush out, you know.
Okay.
It was a huge amount of mold flash as it was. So, you know, we were trying to get it tighter and tighter and tighter. The next step was the whole thing cracks. And you know, we're out of $30,000 mold. So we weren't going to go down that road. Our gold compound is very good. A lot of people, anybody that uses our 90% of people run the gold compound. So we were happy to leave that particular mold alone for that reason. Now, that being said, the X4s, that's a different kind of mold altogether.
Okay.
That red compound works fine for that.
See, and
coming out.
All right. So that totally makes sense. I mean, nerding out here, just like we all like to do, but that makes sense with the small tire with that 419 profile, giving it that type of an issue. I can see where that pressure would just cause it to collapse all the way around. Because so I mean, I make things where I'm using aluminum based molds and vacuum forming. And I totally understand what that process entails. Yeah. And it's no joke. For those, there's a lot of pressure.
You can go, these molds are very, very expensive. They're, as anybody could guess, right? That's why the tires are expensive. The molds are extremely expensive. And in our case, not on top of that, you know, I employ an engineer who's you know, an upper level type guy, and he didn't come cheap. So, you know, so all these things are factored into the cost of the tire. So you don't want it to crack. And we just had a bad experience here with our 419s. They went in for preventative maintenance. They used an acid compound that they weren't supposed to use, and they ruined the mold. Those 3 molds are gone. They're shot. You know, they tried to remill them, resurface them, and didn't work. Didn't work at all. So, you know, so we're kind of back to square one on those 3 molds. We're trying to figure out the financials and things like that. You know, whose fault is it? You know, the company that actually, you know, does this mold, the work in terms of PMing the molds. It's a different company. You know, so there's 3 companies basically involved in the situation. So whose fault is it? So that's where we're stuck right now with the 419s.
That's rough, because I really do like that tire, but
yeah, and a lot of people do.
Yeah, but at the same time,
it's like it's a fun side.
At least you know, though, that you have this community support behind you once things get settled, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Once the tires, you know, hit the market again, they'll fly just like they always have. So, just a matter of getting the ball back in the court and see where it goes.
So I guess that kind of I think you answered my question, especially with the technicalities of it. You had a few other gentlemen from over in Europe bugging you earlier this week about 155s, and and with that explanation, and that with the 419s and the pressure and the engineering behind it, it makes sense why I doubt that they would be available, at least in the Vex Reds. Anything Anything about like the other compounds that are easier to work with?
So, you know, we don't sell enough of the blue compound, even though it's a great compound. It really is. It's like I said, I use it all the time. We don't really sell enough of that compound to really make it worth our while to keep producing it. One of the things that will happen with rubber or anything else out there in the universe is, you know, if I produce a tire and it doesn't sell for 6 months and it sits in a plastic bag, it's going to oxidize. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't really want that. You want to sell fresh rubber as best you can. And like I said, 90% of our rubber sales, at least for the original KLR, are the gold compound. Silver compound is a distant second to that, and blue is almost non-existent. So we're actually going to be discontinuing the blue compound for that reason.
Interesting.
Silver compound will keep, obviously. The people who use silver won't use anything else but silver. So we're not going to do anything with that. But, you know, the red compound and gold far exceed the other compounds in terms of sales. So,
Interesting. I want to kind of go back a little bit, and you mentioned about the tires oxidizing. Now, I recently picked up a set from a buddy over at, when I was up at Motorama. It's actually the 2.2s sitting right up here that just fell. And I mean, you could see the oxidation like you were talking about.
Yeah.
So what can you do to help basically bring those back to life, if anything?
You know, you need to remove that layer of oxidation. Purple Power Cleaner, that brand is called Purple Power. It, straight up, not diluted, but straight up on a cloth and wiping the sidewalls and wiping it over the lugs really does a great job with it. It's hard to beat it. I know people use Simple Green and things like that, and I've used stuff like that. It's not the same as that Purple Power cleaner.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what it is, but it works. It's fantastic.
I'll definitely take that. I'll take that into consideration because I use Simple Green on these, and I mean it's definitely back to pretty much where these are. I mean, these are old school, well worn in, but I will definitely take that in under advisement and pick up some Purple Power to hook that up. So I guess one of the other big questions was, I mean, we see all these tire brands, right? You see Pitbull, you see, and Boom Racing's coming up, slowly, but they're coming up. They're getting better with what they have. What's the big advantage that especially the Vex compound, which is so popular nowadays, is going to give drivers over pretty much, let's say their direct competitors are the Rock Beast 2s, right? That alien snot type compound or the compound.
Right.
What's the advantage with the Vex?
Well, like I said, it's an equation, right? So the compound has to match how the carcass in particular, and then after that your tread pattern, the lug pattern, how all of that comes together is sort of a magic formula there. And each company does have it, and not everybody pays attention to it that much, to be honest with you. Not like we have. We've made it our life's work to understand that formula, frankly. It was the only way to get into this game, and it's the only way to stay in the game as far as I'm concerned. Is, we start producing run-of-the-mill tires, it's not gonna work. No one's gonna buy our tires. They don't expect run-of-the-mill from us. So one of the big things with our tires is if you turn them inside out, you can see how they're engineered, frankly, and we take great pride in that. It's a very, very expensive step that can be skipped. Okay, I will tell you outright, I'm not going to talk bad about any single company, but every company skips this step. They don't want to pay the amount of money. Say your mold costs $30,000. Engineering is going to cost $30,000. So you're talking about $60,000 expenditure for a single tire design. Not many companies are going to do that when they know they can skip that engineering step. They're going to go right straight. They're going to go from your designer to the mold making process with no engineering in there, right? Because that's what we've come to expect as a consumer. Mm-hmm. So my example is, a real world example, so to speak, is mountain bike frames. Okay. 30 years ago, a mountain bike frame was a mountain bike frame, right? Mostly steel tubes, some aluminum, some carbon fiber, but the triangulation was kind of, they're kind of all the same, frankly, because the producers were just using designers. So a designer would have the design, they would go directly to production with it. The production guys would put out a prototype, they would play around with it, wrestle with the physical prototypes, and come up with something that worked pretty well, right? That doesn't work anymore in mountain bikes, right? So you got, companies like, Yeti and Track, and these high-end companies, they have a designer first, then an engineer to follow, and then from the engineering, the next step is computer-aided prototyping. You know what I mean? And that's what we're doing with RC tires. We've taken that exact same principle, and that's what we do. That's what we do. So that's what separates our tires, frankly, from really any other design out there. The guys, the upper level guys, keyed into it right away. Immediately, they were like, "Wait, these tires are very different. They're doing things that other tires don't do." And then, we kind of took it from there, and we just went with it, from that point forward.
It's even amazing. You could take your average consumer, and if they take maybe one, a bunch of different tires, you can feel the physical difference with the each set of tires. I mean, we have one that's extremely flimsy, and it drives me absolutely batty. And then versus what you guys produce, which is a very strong sidewall for this tire, for even like the X4s are very strong sidewall for how thin this tire is. And even using, your foam specifically, and it's not the most dense foam by any means. But it's a very strong sidewall, and I really like that, especially for side hilling.
Yeah, correct. That's correct.
So, nerd out moment. Which program are you guys using for the sorry, had a moment. Are you guys using for the AutoCAD wise? What program are you guys using? This is just nerd personal moment.
Yeah, and we actually keep that information as a trade secret.
Okay.
So there are several programs out there. You can design a tire, the design phase with a tire, anything, right? Inventor works great. There are several, almost even free. There are a couple free programs out there. You could
Fusion,
design a basic tire with. But that's where it all ends in terms of, the design phase is only the first phase.
Right.
Then it's got to be engineered after that. As far, that's how we do it, at least. But yeah, I mean, Inventor works.
Now, if
somebody wanted to do their own tire or whatever, Inventor, you can do it.
And to kind of clue in the rest of the people, I do have a little. I actually teach at least the middle school version. Well, it's the full version, but I teach technology education to middle school students professionally. And I mean, you can actually run full stress tests on the professional version of Inventor, which is one thing that's a big advantage, and I enjoy watching that.
Yeah, and that's really good rudimentary. It's great that they include that and the updated versions, at least, of Inventor, because it gives you a good feel for what to expect down the road as you move down through that prototyping process.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
That's really cool, though, and I don't blame you for keeping that trade secret because, I mean, it is what it is. It's an open group. It's a public interview. So, all right. Let's get to the rapid fire. And you actually answered one of my rapid fire questions, and you didn't even realize it. So this is all your personal. Links or Leafs?
Links.
That's okay.
Although I love Leaf setup. I love it. But if you're on performance, you have to go for a link.
I understand. I have both because I enjoy that. Like most of us, I enjoy that scale purist, but at the same time, I still want performance. Okay. More brass, more aluminum, or keep it stock?
Definitely brass, yes, but not too much. If your weight bias is more than 6, like 60/40 is too much as far as I'm concerned, even frankly. But if it's more than that, you need better tires at that point, right? So
Okay.
overdrive along with good tires if you're rock crawling. Those two things right there make you don't need as much weight up front as you might think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have good tires and decent overdrive, you don't need a ton of weight up front. That being said, brass all the way. You know, beef deep. Dan makes amazing stuff, you guys.
Yeah, he does.
He
does.
The stuff he's, you know, he has, as far as I'm concerned, he is one of the real true innovators in RC rock crawling. He really is.
I have some of his products. I don't run an axial yet, but I have my Traxxas that I intend to put my truck on the books. And as Scott just mentioned, with his R&D, I actually run silvers on mine because that's what I've seen work the best for that truck. And I mean, as we all have, I mean, I'm literally looking at probably 40 tires just around me right now, trying to figure out what works best.
Right.
All right. You actually answered my next question of light or heavy.
Light. Give me a feather light truck any day. Any day.
Okay. How about this is a good one. Vented or non-vented?
It depends on your terrain. If you're in wet, muddy stuff, I no, not going to vent personally. If I'm rock crawling out here in New Mexico where it rains like never, and you have high traction rock, I'm venting all day long.
Okay.
So it depends.
Okay. Favorite size tire?
1.9, hands down.
Okay. So I should say 419 or 475 or 47.
475.
Okay.
4.7, 4.75 in that range, yeah.
All right. So for my last question, are you gonna and my buddies up in Southwest PA, we got a thing. Would you crawl it or send it?
Man, I'm gonna say 50-50 on that. I love to do both. I love both.
You gotta, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Second gear. There's a reason second gear exists.
Oh man, it's so fun. I love rock bouncing. Rock bouncing is coming on really strong right now, and I love it. I love it. You know, Total Mayhem. We're gonna be actually working with a rock bouncing group up in the Pacific Northwest, just out of Seattle. So we're hooking up with them to do Total Mayhem this year. So not only are we going to have the X4 Racing, X4 Scale, we're also going to have rock bouncing, which is going to be a blast. I lived in North Carolina for a few years and got hooked on rock bouncing, man. I mean,
those guys are insane. I enjoy drag racing, right?
God.
I enjoy drag racing, right? My father's got an 85 Vet. It is no NOS, no super. It is a 9.5, 9.7 machine all day. So I'm no stranger to power. And I mean, honestly, those rock bouncers, they're a little special. And I mean,
oh yeah, they really.
But really. on the other side of it, though, I definitely enjoy it. Did you happen to catch any of the pictures from Motorama?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Videos.
Did you see that rock? You see that rock bounce? They had a scale rock bouncer that was running the course in Extreme.
I did not see that actually.
Oh yeah, see if you can find it. It was, yeah, dude, it was a tube chassis. It was straight up. It was a scale rock bouncer, bright green.
Okay, that should be easy to find.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, I pitted next to the guys. They were awesome. And I mean, watching that truck just work was a joy. I mean, obviously it wasn't a crawler, so it actually had a rocket stuck in its chassis. Blue Rocks up in PA brought some of their Blue Rocks down, and it actually got stuck inside the chassis, and it dug itself in the sand, so it couldn't move, and it couldn't get it out. Like he's shaking it, right? He can't get it out. It was awesome.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, damn. Yeah. He couldn't even crawl it or send it that day. So, yeah, man. But, Matt, I really appreciate the opportunity to interview. I appreciate the the conversation. I definitely learned a lot, and I hope a lot of your customers also learned even more about your thought process and why you do things.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's been an uphill battle, frankly, with that. You know, we like to present our methodologies, and not everybody likes our methodologies necessarily. They're more old school or whatever. It's like, hey, I've got my black tire over here. It's rubber. It works good for me. You know what I mean? So when we come out, we're saying this is how we're changing the game. We're changing things up. You know, there's been a lot of resistance to that, but there's been a lot more acceptance of it than resistance. Although the people who do resist it are very vocal, of course. Like anything else, it's, you know, if it's not your brand, it's the wrong brand, right?
I was gonna say, like, you couldn't say it, but Proline guys. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a handful of upper level RC tire companies out there. And, you know, we don't need to mention any names. I'm not going to mention.
There's
any
only
names.
a couple good
who
ones.
They are. You know, it was our goal was to break into that very elite crowd.
I mean, I'm almost every competition I go to, I see Voodoo's on that podium, whether it's the OG or on up through. So, I mean, you guys have, and that's an achievement in itself, because you're not a huge company, right?
We're not huge. We're not really tiny either. Depending on what time of year it is, you know, we could have anywhere from, you know, like 3 of us basically working the whole thing, and up to around the holidays, we hire more, you know, shipping and receiving people and things like that to kind of get things moving. That time of year we get really busy. And then the spring, same thing. You know, midsummer things slow down. They do for all companies, but we do a lot of retail. The other thing that's different about our company is, you know, we have the RPPs, the A mains, and RC Marts. They carry our products, but we sell a lot. We retail a lot off our site, and that keeps us extremely busy.
I mean, honestly, I'd rather buy directly from, although if I am doing a large order and there is free shipping, I'm going to go for the free shipping every time.
Which is why we don't run sales or anything like that on our website, frankly. You know, we don't want to compete with our retailers. That being said, we do have a retail outlet on our website, which is kind of a new thing in terms of, you know, how the world works, so to speak. You know, manufacturers are able to sell direct to the consumer now, where it just really wasn't possible before the internet.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
But that being said, we don't want to cut the legs out from our retailers, so we don't run sales. You know, we don't have like dirt cheap shipping, things like that. We just can't do that. So
yeah, your prices are fair for what your product is. Your prices are more than fair. I mean, I purchased my fair. I got to shout out my Ryan as well, Kornmesser from RC Addict. I really enjoy watching what he does, as well as being an ambassador to your brand. Him and Adam do a great job.
Yeah, Adam Van Ord. I mean, you're talking about two guys there that are the cream of the crop. And I feel very fortunate to have, you know, Adam's actually on our team. He's one of our senior team drivers.
Awesome.
You know, and Ryan, of course, I've known him for a long time, and he, you know, if you look back at his reviews, he does not go easy on companies just for the sake of going easy. He doesn't do that. He has a long history of telling the truth about RC related products, and that's why, you know, people respect him. And, you know, I have always watched with great interest how he reviews our products. Because what he says basically is how things are going to go for us from that point forward with that particular product. So, yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
he's smart.
He's very smart. I enjoy the outlook.
Guy. So is Adam. Same thing.
It's entertaining. I've had some great conversation with Adam as well. He and I are in the same line of on a professional side. So, and as though I'm new, he's given me some professional guidance as well, which I really appreciate. So I got to really shout him out as well. But you know, I honestly, man, I really look forward, and I really appreciate the opportunity to ask you these questions on behalf of, you know, the Voodoo Nation. Really is what it is. I don't think there's a better.
It really is. You know, we went from nothing 6 years ago to what we are now, which is like, you know, we saw a lot of tires. Let's just say. You know, we have over 400 hobby shops around the world that we ship out to. So
and they're constantly, and they're constantly wanting more and more.
All over the world. And we have the giant retailers like the ones I mentioned, those guys as well. And we retail off the site. So we're just, it's a very busy existence for us right now. You know, we're building an indoor, in the back of our warehouse, we have a big area that we're building a big indoor course, and we got a lot of things going on.
That's going to be awesome. That's going to be really awesome.
We can pull some people in. You know, we're having Sorka Nats out here in April. There are going to be people coming out who have never been to Albuquerque before, and I guarantee you they will be coming back once they see what Albuquerque is all about. This is RC heaven out here for an off-road, you know, RC enthusiast. It's RC heaven, it really is. We have all kinds of rock. We have mountains, 10,000 feet above sea level. It's endless. And, you know, now we'll have a nice indoor venue as well. So we want people to come out and enjoy New Mexico with us. We have a really great club here. We have a couple of clubs that are awesome.
Awesome.
So hopefully this Sorka event will put us on the map in terms of people actually coming here to visit us and want to hang out with us and crawl with us. So
I really hope so, because it looks like it's and that sounds like it'll be a flat out blast.
Oh my God. Yeah. There's no better city in the country for RC rock crawling than Albuquerque.
I'm jealous.
I've been everywhere. You know, of course, Denver up there is fantastic. They have Red Rocks. They have all kinds of venues up there too. But it's not Albuquerque. You know, we have amazing stuff down here in terms of what we have available to us for RC rock crawling here is just second to none. To none. And you know, it's another thing that's helped put us on the map as well. You know, I can just drive 30 feet down the road over here and go to a volcanic. Scott McKee knows about this spot. We go out there. It's our little test spot. It's a big volcanic dome vent. And it has some pretty extreme stuff, and we can do some testing and tuning out there, and it's fantastic. But that's just one of the small little spots we have, you know, like within a 20-mile radius of downtown Albuquerque.
See, well, that's not something that we can get, especially on the East Coast, because it's just too populated. No. And then we also, I don't know if you got to deal with nope ropes or not, but if I go into Shenandoah, you know, I've seen my fair share of 10-foot rattlers that I'm like, nope, just nope.
We have rattlesnakes out here. The thing is with our rattlesnakes, it's hot during the day, right? So it's a desert.
Right
out here, it's high desert. So the rattlesnakes by 7 o'clock in the morning, they're gone for the day. They're not going to come out and say hello in the middle of the day or out here in the desert. So, you know, we all know where to look for rattlesnakes. If you want to go check one out, it's easy enough to find one. But we've had comps before, and we have some pictures of this, where there's a big old rattlesnake underneath a big giant sandstone slab, and we're doing a comp all the way around it, like all day long, and the thing never moved.
Wow.
So we do have rattlesnakes. Now, that being said, I don't do nighttime G6s or nighttime trail runs because they come out at night. Not really big on that stuff. And I know a lot of people do it, and no one ever gets bit or anything. I just don't have that kind of desire.
No. I mean, I'll let my truck get bit before I'm going to get bit. Because I actually used my my TRX to chase a black snake away. It's not worth killing them because they eat everything else. But I totally use them. Like, get out of here, because I didn't want my dog to get bit. So.
Right. Well, that's the problem. The dogs will actually go sniff the darn things out and spook them out. So you got to be careful about that.
Yeah, we got a German Shepherd that's not exactly the bright. He's very bright, unless it's something he's on the trail of. Then he's,
Yeah, the intelligence turns off.
Exactly. All right. Well, Matt, I really appreciate the conversation. Yeah. Maybe once everything gets rolling with the KLRMs, maybe we can do a follow up and chit chat and go from there.
We sure will. Just real quick before I leave, the 2 common sizes for the Hero drive shafts going to be another month or so before they're back. We had a huge run on them. We didn't plan on it. We kind of thought it would ramp up slowly over time, and 600 drive shafts went out the door in about 2.5 months. So just that fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The other 2 sizes, if somebody needs to cut them down, you can. They're really easy to cut down with a high-speed cut-off saw, a Dremel or just a chop saw.
Okay.
They're fully splined. So if you really have to do it, that's the only thing you're going to be able to do unless you can wait another month for those other ones that come back and stuff.
That's good to know because I intend to do a build. So that's very good to know.
There you go. Let me know what you need and I'll send them out to you.
Appreciate it. All right. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I definitely look forward to talking in the future.
Thanks.
Have a great evening.
Fun. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye. You too. Bye.